Imagine the sun setting over the blue Alberta mountains, a quiet evening on the ranch, and then suddenly everything changes with a single phone call. Heartland fans have been waiting years for a moment like this, but no one expected it to happen like this. The quiet life at the ranch is about to be turned completely upside down, because Amy Fleming is officially expecting her baby. But as the news spreads across the valley, a dark storm cloud is gathering on the horizon, threatening to transform what should be the happiest day of her life into a dangerous battle against time and nature. Every single fan knows that life on the Fleming Ranch is never simple, and this season opener is setting up to be the most intense episode we have seen in years. The news of the baby spreads like wildfire through the family, bringing a mix of pure joy, nervous laughter, and instant panic. Lou is already running around trying to organize every single detail of the baby room, while Jack stands silently on the porch, staring out at the open land with that calm, wise look in his eyes that usually means he is worried deep down inside. Tim is already making big plans, bragging to anyone who will listen, and acting like he is going to teach this baby how to ride a horse before it can even walk. The atmosphere inside the main house is full of warmth, love, and that comfortable rustic feeling that makes all of us fall in love with this show over and over again. You can almost smell the hot coffee brewing in the kitchen and feel the gentle breeze blowing off the open fields. But outside, the air is starting to turn cold, and the wind is beginning to pick up. A massive, sudden mountain storm is moving in faster than any forecast predicted, and it is heading straight for the valley, while everyone back at the main house is busy celebrating and making frantic preparations for the future. Amy is out where she always feels most comfortable, far away from the noise and close to the animals. She is working with a troubled young horse down by the lower barn, completely lost in her quiet routine. The connection she shares with these animals has always been the heart of the story, and watching her work reminds us why she is the center of this entire world. But her peace does not last very long. The sky turns a heavy shade of gray, and the wind begins to howl through the trees surrounding the property. A sudden loud crack of thunder strikes nearby, scaring the horses and sending a wave of panic through the stable. Amy manages to calm the animals down, but as she bends over to latch the gate, a sharp, sudden pain hits her. She stops in her tracks, catching her breath against the wooden post. She tries to brush it off as nothing, thinking it is just normal stress or fatigue from a long day of hard work on the farm. But a few seconds later, another painful wave hits her, much stronger than the first one. The realization settles in fast and heavy, sending a chill down her spine that has nothing to do with the freezing mountain wind. The baby is coming right now, weeks earlier than anyone expected, and she is completely alone. She reaches into her jacket pocket to pull out her phone, hoping to call Jack or Lou for help, but the screen is completely blank with 0 bars of signal. The storm has already knocked out the local cellular towers up in the hills. Rain begins to pour down in heavy sheets, soaking the ground and turning the dirt roads into thick, slippery mud. Back at the house, Jack notices the weather turning bad and looks out the window, realizing that Amy has been gone far too long. The mood in the kitchen instantly shifts from joyful celebration to cold fear. They know she is somewhere out near the back pastures, completely cut off from the main road, with a dangerous storm closing in fast. The clock is officially ticking, the roads are washing out, and the race to reach Amy before it is too late has officially begun. The storm outside begins to rage with full force, tossing heavy branches against the barn walls while inside. The pressure mounts with every passing second. Back in the warm, wood-framed main house, the joyful energy has completely shattered into pure, focused panic. Lou is frantically pacing back and forth across the hardwood floor, landline receiver pressed tightly to her ear, trying every emergency contact in Hudson only to hear dead silence on the line. Jack stands by the window with his arms crossed tightly, his weathered face showing a deep level of worry that only comes when one of his own is in real danger. He knows these mountains better than anyone alive, and he knows that when a sudden cold front drops over the ridge like this, it can wash out the dirt roads in a matter of minutes, trapping anyone left out on the back pastures. Tim is already pulling on his heavy leather coat, swearing under his breath as he grabs the truck keys from the peg near the door. determined to drive right out into the blinding rain despite the danger. Out in the isolated lower barn, Amy is locked in a fierce battle of will and endurance against her own body and the elements. She moves slowly toward the hayloft, using the heavy wooden posts to support her weight every time another sharp wave of labor hits her. The cold mountain wind whistles violently through the cracks in the barn walls, threatening to push the temperature down to freezing levels before nightfall. Without any phone service, she knows no one is coming immediately, and she has to rely on the calm, resilient spirit that has guided her through every trial in her life. She gathers several clean-moving blankets stored in the tack room and begins preparing a dry, sheltered space in the corner stall, away from the icy drafts. Every breath she takes is a conscious decision to stay calm for the sake of her unborn child, even as the thunder continues to shake the heavy beams above her head. The bond between Amy and the land has always been strong, but tonight, the wilderness feels unforgiving, testing her strength in a way she has never experienced before. Back on the main trail, Tim and Jack hit their first major roadblock when a massive fallen pine tree completely blocks the dirt fire road leading down to the lower pastures. The rain has turned the path into a river of thick, slick mud, making it impossible for the heavy pickup truck to push through. Realizing that driving any further is a lost cause, Jack does not hesitate for a second. He climbs out into the pouring rain, grabs 2 headlamps and heavy tow ropes from the truck bed, and prepares to make the trek on foot through the storm. They know that every minute spent clearing debris or fighting the mud is a minute Amy does not have. The emotional weight of the moment is heavy on both men, knowing how much this family has already endured and how much is riding on them reaching that barn in time. The storm shows no signs of letting up, but the stubborn Fleming determination kicks into high gear as they push forward into the dark, rain-soaked woods, deep within the dark timber. The storm reaches a terrifying peak as the wind howls like a wild beast through the high mountain pines. Down in the drafty lower barn, Amy is pushed to the absolute limit of her physical and emotional strength as the labor intensifies beyond anything she anticipated. With no medical supplies, no hot water, and only the dim, flickering light of a battery-powered lantern to cut through the shadows, she realizes she cannot wait for help to arrive. She has spent her entire life helping fragile animals bring new life into the world under tough conditions. And now she must apply every bit of that deep instinct and inner courage to save herself and her child. Between agonizing waves of pain, she talks softly to the horses in the adjacent stalls, using the rhythmic sound of her own voice to stay grounded and keep panic from taking over. The wild Mustang she rescued earlier stands near the stall gate, unusually calm and keeping a silent, watchful vigil over her as if sensing the gravity of the moment. Meanwhile, up on the treacherous mountain path, the rescue effort takes a dramatic and dangerous turn. Jack and Tim are pushing through knee-deep mud and blinding rain, their flashlights barely cutting through the thick fog that has rolled off the peak. Suddenly, the earth beneath the upper trail gives way, sending a small mudslide crashing down right across their path and completely washing out the foot trail. Tim slips on the collapsing embankment and nearly tumbles toward the ravine, but Jack grabs his coat collar just in time, pulling him back to solid ground. Shaken but fueled by pure adrenaline, they realize the direct path to the lower barn is completely destroyed. Their only option now is to take the long, dangerous high ridge trail, a rocky path that is notoriously slick during heavy downpours. Time is rapidly slipping away, and every step requires intense focus. But the thought of Amy alone in the dark drives both men forward through the freezing gale inside the barn. The quiet space is suddenly shattered by the sound of heavy wooden beams groaning under the pressure of the rising windstorm. A massive tree branch crashes through one of the upper barn windows, sending glass shattering across the dirt floor and letting in a rush of freezing air and rain. Amy forces herself to move, dragging her body across the stall to block the broken window with an old wooden panel to protect the space from the cold elements. As she collapses back onto the pile of dry blankets, a powerful, overwhelming wave signals that the moment of birth has finally arrived. She is entirely on her own in the middle of a violent wilderness storm, separated from the people she loves most. Facing the biggest moment of her life with nothing but her raw determination and the quiet strength that defines the Fleming legacy. With a sudden, violent crack of thunder overhead, the heavy wooden doors of the lower barn burst open, letting in a blinding rush of rain, cold wind, and two drenched, exhausted men. Jack and Tim rush into the flickering light of the lantern, their eyes wide with fear, only to freeze in their tracks at the incredible scene before them. Amy is sitting in the straw of the warm corner stall, pale and completely exhausted, but wrapping a soft wool blanket tightly around a tiny newborn baby. The intense battle against the storm in her own body is finally over, and against all the impossible odds, she has brought a healthy new life into the world entirely on her own. The wild Mustang stands quietly over the stall, acting like a silent protector, while the soft, gentle sounds of the new baby echo through the drafty old barn. Completely silencing the raging storm outside, Jack drops to his knees in the straw, his hands trembling as he wraps his heavy coat around Amy's shivering shoulders, unable to hide the tears mixing with the rainwater on his weathered face. Tim quickly moves into action, using his pocket knife to cut clean strips from a spare flannel shirt and helping to keep the baby warm while checking to make sure Amy is stable. The heavy weight of panic that had been crushing both men for hours instantly transforms into an overwhelming wave of relief and awe. Even in the middle of a dark, ruined barn with the wind howling through the broken windows, the space feels warmer and safer than anywhere else on Earth. Amy looks up at her grandfather with a weak but proud smile, whispering that she never lost faith that they would find her, showing the pure resilience that has always kept this family together through every hardship outside. The harsh winds slowly begin to die down as the eye of the storm passes over the valley, allowing the first soft rays of moonlight to break through the scattering clouds. Tim manages to fire up a handheld emergency radio to signal the rescue team that they are all safe, while Jack carefully lifts Amy and her new baby into the back of the dry utility cart to prepare for the slow trip home. News reaches the main house through the radio, sending Lou into tears of pure happiness as she prepares the fireplace and warm blankets for their arrival. As the family finally gathers back at the ranch under the clearing night sky, a new chapter officially begins for the Fleming family. This child was born in the middle of a wild storm, testing their strength and bringing them closer than ever before, leaving every single viewer breathless and eager to see how this incredible new journey unfolds in the episodes to come. The morning sun breaks over the ridge of the Alberta mountains, casting a warm golden light across the rain-washed fields of Heartland. Back inside the main house, the fireplace crackles softly as the entire family gathers around the living room in peaceful, exhausted silence. Amy rests comfortably on the sofa with her new baby sleeping soundly in her arms, surrounded by warm blankets and the loving support of her family. Lou is quietly weeping tears of joy while setting down mugs of hot coffee. Tim cannot stop proudly showing photos on his phone to anyone who walks through the door. And Jack sits in his favorite armchair, watching his family with a quiet smile that says more than words ever could. After surviving the terrifying storm and the dangerous ordeal in the lower barn, the ranch is finally quiet, safe, and filled with a renewed sense of hope and togetherness. This powerful episode reminds all of us why we fell in love with Heartland in the first place, showing that no matter how dangerous the storm or how impossible the odds, family and faith will always pull you through the dark. The arrival of this baby marks the beginning of a brand new era for the Fleming family, opening up exciting new storylines, fresh challenges, and emotional moments that will shape the rest of season 20. Will Amy be able to balance her busy life with the horses while raising her new baby? And how will the family adjust to this big new chapter? Drop your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comment section below, because we want to hear what you think is coming next for the ranch. If you enjoyed this full breakdown and trailer update, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all notifications so you never miss a single Heartland update or plot reveal.